Hello, hello. Welcome everyone. This is Mompreneurs to Millionaires. So glad you are here. Today's topic is Instagram tricks. Ooh, tell me below if you feel like you have ever felt like you are posting on Instagram and just hearing crickets, right? Oh my gosh. I have totally been there. I think it is a real big challenge. Tell me if you've ever looked at your last 20 posts on Instagram and realized, oh my God, I spent hours on these beautiful graphics, or I spent hours on these videos, and it never led to a conversation or even a client, right? Tell me below if you feel like you have been stuck in a little bit of a posting and hoping. Oh, tell me below, posting and hoping. I think that is, you are not alone. I think so many entrepreneurs get stuck in this cycle. I think this is so common, and I don't think we talk about it enough. I'm on a mission to help everyone spend less time on content and start doing more things that matter, more things that actually move your business forward. So we're going to talk all about that today. I'm going to share 4 tricks to Instagram to really figure out what to do over on Instagram, how to get it actually converting, how to get this working for your business. So we're going to talk about these 4 tricks. So definitely stick around. But I think the biggest gap, right, is that we are told Instagram is a great place to find your people, right? Absolutely. It's a great place to find your people. But the difference is, I don't think a lot of people are taking action on Instagram, right? So that is the gap that I really believe that you've got to get your people taking action elsewhere. Instagram is just not clickable, right? Tell me clickable if you agree that Instagram is not clickable. Oh my gosh. As a side note, right, Pinterest is one of the most clickable platforms. So if you're at all interested in learning more about Pinterest, of course, I'd love to talk, but Pinterest is less like a social media platform and more like a database, and it is highly clickable. Very different than Instagram. Instagram is not clickable, right? The only places really to put the link, like you're very well aware of, link in bio or in your stories, right? So keep that in mind, that if you are trying to drive traffic or get people to click in order to take action, it's a very long game. You may be waiting forever, right? And very similar to algorithms in every other social media platform, right? Is that you are dependent on what the algorithm decides to show people, right? And you have far more power than that. You have far more power rather than just post and wait, right? So we're going to talk all about that. Let me know if you're watching on the live, just say live below, or let me know if you're watching on the replay, just say replay. I'd love to know who comes in the day of and who's coming in afterwards. Awesome. So today we are talking about Instagram. If you feel like you are not sure what to do, if you feel like you have heard a bunch of strategies, you've gotten a lot of information, and you're like, now what? Now what should I really focus on? This is exactly why I created my new implementation lab. So it's called the Leads Growth Collective, and it is over on School. This is a classroom. What I love about School is the classroom mindset. This is where you learn and do. My idea of the implementation lab is this is where we get stuff done. Because all of us have been told lots of strategies, right? You're bombarded every day with new strategies, things you should focus on, things you should do, things you should not do. Everywhere, right? There's so much noise. And this is really the idea of the implementation lab, is where we are going to focus and get stuff done. So every day there will be an implementation challenge, and there are some weekly scorecards and a monthly bingo card. So some fun things happening over there. What I love is I just dropped my new AI tool over in School, and it is the to-do list prioritizer. Oh my gosh, right? So this is exactly what I've been talking about with many of my clients, is how do I know what to focus on? How do I know what activities are actually going to move my business forward, right? Tell me below if you're like, oh my God, I have way too many things on my to-do list, right? Just say to do if you've got way too many things on your to-do list. This is a new tool that I've created so that you can brain dump. You can brain dump all of your to-do list, and it will prioritize it based on my methods and the way that I think your relationship-focused business and tasks should come first. So the moves that are actually going to make money moves, it's called the Money Moves to-do list prioritizer. So if you're at all interested, right, just say lab below, because over in the implementation lab, this is where all of my AI tools are going to be dropping. I have one for I help statements, and I have another one for your group entry question. So I'm creating new kind of apps all the time. So I'm excited over there to share more. So if you're all interested, just say lab. But thanks so much to everyone who voted. Every week I put out a poll in this group, and I love figuring out what you guys want to talk about. Obviously today Instagram tricks was the winner, but feel free to drop any suggestions on topics below. You can always message me privately, or you can just vote on that poll each week. I drop a few ideas of things that I like talking about, but I always want to hear what would be most helpful for you and your business. So with that, I know you're a go-getter, right? You are here because you want to learn some little nugget, some little piece of advice, a little bit of some information that is going to help your business. That's why you're here. So I invite you with that to put on your abundance crown. I like calling it a crown because you're a goddess. Every woman is a goddess within. Like I said, you have far more power, right? You have so much more power than you think inside of you. And I invite you to put on your abundance crown and to really think about what would be different, right? What would be different in my business? What do I really want to happen? Most people would say more sales, right? Of course, that's what we all want. But what could I take from this video that is actually going to help me? So I invite you to write down 2 action items, 2 things that you heard that it is either an aha moment or something you're going to try or a strategy you hadn't thought about or just a new way of thinking. Because here's the thing. No one is coming to save your business, right? No one nugget, one strategy that you hear online is going to magically metamorphose and catapult your business, right? Unfortunately, it is going to take you, and you have the power. You are going to have to change. If you don't like the way your business is right now, it is up to you. So I invite you to write down just 2 things that you hear from today's talk, that you are open to change, that you are open to thinking about. Because if you want things to be different, right? Unfortunately, it's got to be you. That's always the hardest lesson, right? But yeah, just write down 2 things at least from today's video so you get something out of it, because I really want this to be productive. I want this to be effective and helpful for you. And I'd love to hear what 2 things do you take from today's video that is helpful, new, something that you're going to try. I would love to hear. Awesome. If you are new here and we haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Christina. I have been helping businesses for over a decade. I always like to share, I had my first little Etsy shop back in 2010. I also like to say I was a babysitter, right? Tell me below if you were a babysitter back when I was 12 years old. I feel like babysitting was that first entrepreneurial spirit, right? You got to earn your own money, set your own schedule, decide which families you wanted to help, right? It was really, I think that was the birth of my entrepreneurial spirit. But back in 2010, over on Etsy, I realized, oh my gosh, the internet is huge. You cannot just build it and hope that people come, right? Tell me below if you built it and thought people would come. I keep learning this lesson over and over. Hence marketing. That's why I'm so passionate about marketing and figuring out how to get people to your business, right? It is what every business requires. Every business requires customers, right? So over on Etsy, I realized that other Etsy shop owners were hanging out in Facebook groups. What helped me so much back in 2010 is learning from other Etsy shop owners in those Facebook groups. We supported each other, we learned from each other, and we bought from each other, right? That was so valuable. And so I really got this bug in my mind that community really matters, right? The people you surround yourself with, learning from people who are 5 steps ahead of you, that is how you're going to fast track your business, right? Of course. So fast forward in 2014, my husband and I opened a brick and mortar. Oh my God, tell me brick and mortar below if you have had the pleasure of running a brick and mortar. It is a whole different ballgame, and we learned so much. But again, smacked in the face with, you cannot just set up shop. You cannot just build it, have the perfect products, and hope that people come, right? We had to go to them. We got so creative. I always like to share, my mother and I, at the time, she was 70 years old. We went to a huge college campus near my house, and we put shower caps on bike seats because it rains a lot here, with a coffee coupon, right? Because we were getting so creative. We had to. We needed people in our door like yesterday. So that is one of the things I love, getting really creative, thinking out of the box on how to get people to your doors, right? That is the goal. But after the bike shop closed, unfortunately, I turned it into my passion because I thought there must be other business owners who are just like me, right? On an island trying to figure out how to go to them, how to get people in your door, how to get people in your world. So I turned this back in 2016 into my real passion to help other business owners, because I thought if we could all share knowledge, access, right, we could all rise together. That is my big mission in life, is that we can all support each other along the way as we are all moving up. More hands more money, more money in the hands of good people is how this world is going to progress, right? That is how we are going to build up stronger. That is how we are going to build a better world, right? And I'm here for it. Awesome. So I'm so glad you're here too. So at the bike shop, we did learn about Facebook groups, right? So if you have been around me at all, you know that Facebook groups is my jam. I love helping you build a Facebook group community, because what a testament to Facebook groups. We created this Facebook group for the bike shop to have bike rides and events. Still to this day, here we are 10 years later after the bike shop closed, there are still people getting together under that bike shop, under that Facebook group, going on bike rides, right? To me, that is such a testament to people want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to feel like they belong, right? They want to be a part of something. So building that community around your business of loyal supporters that are there with you from the beginning, they watch you grow, they're interested in what you're doing, right? They're supporting you. That is how you are going to grow and build a community and a customer base that is going to be loyal to you. So to me, I really believe that it's about making a movement and having more impact, right? So creating this movement with your community is one of the best choices I ever made in my business. So I'd love to help you with any of that. Again, if you're at all interested in learning more about my GROWS framework, we talk all about that over in the implementation lab over in school. Just say lab below. I'd love to get you that information. But again, that's where we are actually not just learning about it, we are implementing it. So if you are done with guessing, if you are done with learning, if you are ready to implement and actually make money moves in your business, just say lab. I'd love to make sure you get that information. Okay, so this is why you're here. Let's talk about the 4 Instagram tricks. So again, my strategy is not content. I do not think content is converting. I think relationships are what is converting. So to me, if you are, we had this question, how much should you post on Instagram, right? To me, I do not put a lot of stock in content because, especially on Instagram, it is not a great converter, right? It is hard for people to click. It is hard for people to respond. I think most people are scrolling. Most people are in their feed just scrolling on Instagram, right? They are maybe liking, but they are just scrolling, consuming, right? It's hard for people to click. They're not going to click on your name, go to your link in bio, very rarely, right? So how to utilize this, right? So this is what we are going to talk about, how to get this moving for your business. So I would suggest really, again, don't put all your eggs in the content basket. If you post 3 times a week, I think that's plenty. If you're already at 1 time a day, that's great. Keep that up if it doesn't affect the rest of your business. But to me, if you are so busy, right? I hear this so much. Well, I'm so busy, I don't have time to learn a new strategy. That's great, right? I totally get that. If you are so busy, you don't have time to learn a new strategy, then I would argue, do you have enough time for new customers, right? If you are so busy and yet you also want customers, how are you going to have time for those customers? I would really take a hard look at your priorities, because if you are prioritizing content that is not getting you new clients, then that would be something you could cut. Right? There are definitely some things in your to-do list that you could cut or deprioritize, because I think building relationships is going to move your business forward so much more than content. So with a big caveat, right? We're going to talk a little bit about content, but I like to say that I would not put all your eggs in the Instagram basket, right? Again, because it is not a big converter. But these are the 4 ways to get it converting a bit more for you, get it working for you, what I have found. All right, so number 1, the best use of Instagram is to find your people. It is really easy to search people, search, right, whoever your target audience is, search for hashtags, popular trending words, right, whatever is in your industry or niche. Use those words to find your people. It is really easy to follow people, and they most likely will follow you back. This is a great way to get people in your world. Be very strategic with who you are following. You don't have to follow back everybody who follows you, but if they're in your target audience, definitely follow them back, right? And seek out more. So it's a great place to find your people. So if you want more followers, start following some other people. And here's a little trick, right? You can look at some of your competitors or other people in your industry and follow their followers, right? Be really careful, right? Again, we don't, I always like to give a big disclaimer that you don't want to be a bot. You don't want to be flagged on any of these platforms, right? I have a human engagement checklist. If any of you have received that, or if you're interested in it, just say checklist below and I'll make sure you get that. It is a checklist on how to be a human and not be a bot. Don't get flagged as a bot on any of these platforms. So on Instagram, be very careful. Don't follow like 100 people today, right? Start following like 10 new people, right? Go small. Don't do anything in mass, right? That is how you are going to get flagged as a bot, because that's what bots do. So be really careful if you're following new people on Instagram. But again, follow 10 people today, maybe 10 people tomorrow, right? Get more people in your world. So if you are wanting more followers, start following other people. If you are wanting more likes, start liking other people's content, especially if they are in your target audience, right? Then if you want more comments, start commenting, right? So tip number 1 is to follow, like, and comment. If you want more follows, likes, and comments, start doing the same. Much of social media is reciprocal. So if you are wanting people to respond and support you, I always encourage you to support others first. So that's always a good rule of thumb. If you want more likes and comments, start liking and commenting on other people's stuff, for sure. All right, tip number 2. Again, your content may not be converting, right? Tell me below if you have posted on Instagram and gotten crickets. Say crickets below. I've definitely been there. And even still, right, if you look at my Instagram, it is not a hot ticket, right? I get very few views, very few likes, because I don't spend a lot of time on it, because I decided it is not a big converter. And so I get my leads and clients elsewhere, right? But it's a great place to stay in people's world. I can send DMs. So this is tip number 2, is to go to them in the DMs. So if anyone has liked your content, has liked your post, has commented on your post, if they are in your target audience, start a conversation with them, start a DM. It's really easy, much easier, I think, to get in the DMs over on Instagram than it is on Facebook in Messenger. There are less privacy settings, and so you can message people a little bit easier on the DMs. Again, be very careful. Don't start sending a bunch of links. I always encourage the first message to new people should always be a conversation, not a link, right? Start the conversation. Hey, I saw that you were interested in this. Tell me more about your journey through whatever you're working on, right? Be a human, start a conversation. But the biggest trick, I think, then, is to get those people into your container. To me, the best part of nurturing and warming people up is using your Facebook group, because your Facebook group acts like a sales funnel and gets people to take action. So this is definitely one of the tricks I like to share, is that get your people, once you are following the right people and they are following you back over on Instagram, invite them in a DM over to your Facebook group, right? This is a little bit of the secret sauce. Definitely get them over to your Facebook group, because this is, most people have both, right? They have Instagram and Facebook, connected. So it's really easy to be like, hey, I saw that you liked my post on XYZ. I'm sharing more tips and resources over in my free Facebook group. Would you like the link? Right? Start a conversation. You can also start the conversation first. Thanks for liking my information on XYZ. Tell me more about where you're at with your mindset journey, weight loss journey, right? Parenting journey, any of those things, right? Tell me more how you feel about this, or, you could say, what did you like about that post? Or, right? I always like to be a little bit more specific, make it easy for people to respond. Then say, hey, great, I'm sharing more stuff. I'd love to have you over in my supportive community where we're doing, ABC or whatever it is. Get them over to your Facebook group. So this is a really, I think, easy way to get more people into your Facebook group and to get your Instagram working for you. Get them to take action. Get them to take action over in the DMs. Now, you can also send people out off platform, right? So if you're wanting to send people to your freebie, you could do that in the DMs as well. Again, I think it's much easier to send people to your Facebook group. That is an easier ask. It is much harder to get people to go off platform, right? Plus, I also would argue that probably the DMs that have a link to off platform, potentially, if you do more of those, could get you flagged sooner, maybe, don't quote me, right, than within Meta. I kind of think, right? If you're sending them a link to your Facebook group, and sometimes they're funny, sometimes Instagram will not let you send a link to a Facebook group, probably because people were doing this, but you can always send them to your profile, right? I'd love to have you check my profile to join, where you get this freebie. And then in your profile for Instagram, I would always encourage you to have a link to your Facebook group. If it's your sales funnel, get people to your sales funnel, right? Anywhere that you have your profile, if you're driving traffic and you're using your Facebook group as a funnel, I would suggest putting it in your profile. If that's your top of funnel, put your profile. Send people to your funnel, right? If that's your funnel, send them to your funnel. So that's what I love teaching my clients, how to make sure you're getting people in top of funnel and you're focused on getting people to take that action, because it's far easier for people to join a Facebook group than to go over to a landing page. It's just an easier ask. And then they get to tell you things, right? That's the whole point of the Facebook group. They get to answer your entry questions and they qualify themselves, right? Tell you how interested they are in your subject. So that's really the biggest benefit of Facebook groups. All right, so that was tip number 2, is DM them, invite them to your group. Tip number 3 for Instagram tricks is, I see this so much, give them a call to action, CTA. Make it easy. Here's the thing, so much content, and again, we often get stuck in this teaching, right? As coaches, service providers, we have so much value and information we want to share. We want to help, we want to give you tips and resources. So often we are telling them a lot of stuff, telling them. I always encourage you to ask them. So a CTA could be asking a question, right? And I like to have it at the top of your caption. So, do you agree with this? That could be simple as that. Do you agree with this? And then share your, valuable story and your educational and your tips and stuff like that in the caption below. And then you can also put the question at the end. So I like a CTA to be a question. Who wants this, right? Do you want this? Or comment this particular word below if you want this, and then share a bit more, right? So I like the question or the CTA to be at the top of the caption. Most people are not reading your whole caption. Tell me below if you feel like, are you reading a lot of captions, especially the long form, right? Are you reading captions on Instagram? Say captions below. I don't think people are reading captions. I really don't. So make sure your CTA is close to the top so it's very clear what people do. Tell them how to respond. I think that is the biggest mistake I see entrepreneurs make, is that they're like, well, nobody's engaging, nobody's responding, nobody's commenting. They may not know how, especially if we are in this telling them. If you tell people stuff, how are they supposed to respond, right? If you are telling them things, the best comment you can get is, cool, thumbs up, I agree, you're amazing, right? Most people aren't like, oh my God, that's me. They could, but in the form of a question, more people are like, oh yeah, I do agree with that. Or yes, I have opinions, or I have had that happen to me, right? Ask a question. So I always encourage asking content over telling them. And this is what I teach my clients, is that outside of your Facebook group can be telling them, because those are more placeholders. Inside your Facebook group should be all about your audience. Ask them. Only questions. Ask them. So that's why I always encourage. All right. Tip number 4 for Instagram tricks. Links, right? And we talked a little bit about this at the top. It is really hard. There are only 2 places that you can put links in Instagram. Your link in profile, right? Link in bio. So make sure you have a few links. It's okay to have a couple, I think. And make sure that they are labeled. So you can have the link, the URL, long, whatever URL, but have it as a label. So if it's like Facebook group or free this or, strategy call or whatever that is, label the link. So it's people don't just see facebook.com, right? Like, what are they getting with that link? So label the link, and it's okay to have a couple in your profile in Instagram. So that's one place. The other place that you can add a link is in your story. So if you share a post to a story, you can do that. Or if you're just creating stories, you can add a link to your story. And I like doing this. I like doing polls. Give them an easy click, right? Easy button. If people are scrolling through stories, they can click, right? And again, I like to label that link. So start here, buy, book now, whatever the action items, get your free, blah, blah, blah. Whatever the action is. So that is tip number 4, is put the link in your profile. Make sure you have links in the profile, and make sure you do links in the stories. And you've probably already done this, but you can highlight your stories. I like to have this on Instagram because you have those little bubbles, right? I like the highlight bubbles because it kind of categorizes different parts of your business. So I love seeing this, that people are doing like a start here bubble, and that can be like, how to get your freebie, or, the best way to work with you, or testimonials, or whatever you want. Or you can have a different bubble for testimonials or different highlights. And then you can have links in those highlights. So when you're saving, you can highlight your story. It has to be a story first, and then you save it as a highlight. So when you create your story, you can add your link and then highlight it, and then it will live in your profile, right? So it's almost like another place where people can click in your profile, which is nice because it, again, I think it separates, especially if you have a few different things going on in your business. So if you have a podcast, if you have a blog, if you have your Facebook group, or right, if you have different parts of your business, you can include those in the highlights with a link so that people can click on the highlight, see the story, and click the link. So that's a great tip. I think it's an easy way to kind of organize your Instagram profile and give people more places to take action, because I think it's really hard for people to take action, right? And that is the goal. So again, I wouldn't put all of my eggs in the Instagram basket. It's a great place to grow and find your audience, but then you've got to get them to take action elsewhere. And to me, the best way to get them to take action is sending them a DM and getting them to your Facebook group. If you're just putting in your post, check the link in bio, right? If that's your CTA, I would be curious how well that's going for you, right? Tell me below. Some people may have a large following, and here's the challenge with Instagram. I've seen this so much. You can see it on my very own profile. You could have thousands of followers and not one person is seeing your post, right? Unfortunately, that is the algorithm. That is the algorithm that is not working for you, right? You could have 1,000 followers. Followers does not mean they are seeing your content. And that's what's so hard, is that if you have an interesting business that's a little different and a little bit takes a little nuance to explain, and what you do, and you can't just get that all from one post. So even if one person sees one post, they may not see another post. So they may not be getting the full picture of your business, right? It makes so much sense to you because you're up here, right? You can see your full business, but most people, if they're only getting one post, and that is the end of that relationship, right? They don't know what to do with that post. They might have been interested, they might have been curious, but if you don't either follow up in a DM or you don't get them into your world somehow, they're gone, and that is the end of that relationship, right? So you've really got to have a way for people to take action over on Instagram. So that's definitely my little soapbox about Instagram. I would love to hear what jumped out at you. What is something that you're going to try over on Instagram? Are you going to try any of these 4 tricks? And if you feel like you need some help with those DM scripts, or you feel like you need some help just with this overall strategy, right? That is absolutely what I created the implementation lab for. Just say lab below, but we offer live coaching. So every week, included in your lab membership, you get a free live coaching call with me. So you can bring your questions. You could be like, hey, I really need a DM script that invites people to my Facebook group. Or, hey, I really need a DM script that gets people to this particular freebie or gets them on calls. How do I book more calls, right? These are great questions to bring to live coaching. How do I get more people on my free audit? How do I get more people in my world? How do I get people to my Facebook group? How do I get people on my email list? These are all great questions, right, that you can bring to live coaching. So I'm so excited to offer that. With your membership, you get obviously once a week, so you get four coaching calls. There'll be group coaching calls, but I always encourage everyone to come because that's how we grow together, right? Your question, if you don't have a question, someone else may have one that really sparks an idea for you, or a question that you weren't sure how to ask. Maybe someone else has a similar question, and we can just all kind of learn from each other. So it's a really great place to bring your questions and get some feedback, right? Get some feedback on your particular business so that you can move forward. That is really the key. So that is what we're doing over in the implementation lab, where we are getting things done. So I'm so excited. Just say lab below. Again, the first week is free, so you can come over, try it out, get the first coaching for free. The first live coaching, it happens on Fridays. And so if you're interested, right, just say lab below. I'll make sure you get all the details. Awesome. So that is everything. I always like to leave you with a little bit of mindset, right? Again, if you feel like you don't have time to learn a new strategy, I would argue, what are your priorities, right? If you want to make changes in your life, definitely think about what you are spending time on, because I find that less is so much more, right? I am so much more effective when I have fewer things on my to-do list, and I just have one overall goal. Sometimes we can be so deep in the weeds in our own business that it is really hard to see that bigger picture of, okay, what is this really doing? What is my overall goal? What is my sales funnel, right? What is my customer journey? Like, what are some of those bigger picture? It's really hard to see sometimes when we are so deep in the weeds of our own business. It really takes, I think, an outside view person who's done it, who's been there, who has seen just about everything, so that I can help really dig you out of what's getting you stuck, right? And oftentimes it's mindset. I feel like there are so many things that wear us down as entrepreneurs, as women in society, as moms, right? There are so many things that we are carrying. Often there's a mindset around a certain strategy, a certain way of saying things. I think so many women are afraid of being salesy, right? I think this is the biggest fear that's holding so many women back. Say salesy below if you feel like you are so afraid of being salesy. I think it's not your fault, right? I think this is the message we've been given, is to don't be direct about your business, or we've all had that one friend who's a little bit pushy about her business. I'm sorry to say I might be that friend, but it takes us all stepping a little bit outside of our comfort zone, right? And I'm not saying you need to be a pushy saleswoman by any means, but there is an aligned place for you to be direct about your business and be excited to share, and think about it as serving, right? You are not selling, you are serving. And if you have the exact thing that someone needs right now, and if you are not offering it to her, you are doing her a disservice, right? There are people who need exactly where you're at, exactly your life experiences. No one has your unique perspective, and your clients need to hear from you. So tell them what you have to offer. So that's my 2 cents for today. But yeah, it is expensive to wait, right? It is expensive to wait. I hear this a lot too, that, whether it's the economy or the slow season, there are people making money in every single day, every single time of year, right? Every single economy, every single year, there are people making money. So by putting some type of label on your customers, limiting yourself, you are holding yourself back, and that is keeping you small. So if you are afraid that you don't have time and you don't have money, I would definitely love to chat more, because I think there's so much more to getting your business going again, right? It is not, I don't think it's about time, and I don't think it's about money. I think there are so many other things that are holding you back. And I think, don't waste years. Like, to me, wasting years, that is costing you way more money than investing in your future, right? So don't waste years like I did. I wasted so many years stuck in a posting and hoping, and it got me nowhere, right? It wasn't until I invested in my own business and hired a coach that actually up-leveled my business and catapulted things forward. So that is my biggest lesson, is that coaches use other coaches. Every successful coach I've met has used another coach. So don't waste years like I did. Learn from the people who've gone before you. That is the quickest way to up-level your business. All right. Again, if you're interested in the lab, just say lab below. I would love to have you over in school, where we are getting things done. The implementation lab, this is where we are moving our businesses forward and making money moves today.